One of my better decisions was to start this YouTube channel in the middle of wedding season, which of course has slowed me down completely in actually posting anything. So, welcome to episode 2. Got the amazing opportunity to make a floating frame for a canvas that was actually painted at a wedding I photographed last year. So the painter actually arrives and paints live in front of all the guests and the bride and groom to see. So you get to see the painting come alive. It's really, really cool to see. So I've found this really nice piece of Victorian River Gum that I had sitting in the storage, and thought the beautiful colour would match what the client was looking for. I'm currently undecided on how I feel about how I acquired this timber. So I'm in love with reclaimed timber. I'm getting all my timber out of old knockdowns and buildings that are being demolished. This one I actually picked up at a sale from Sawmill, but it was a big sale. You got a big pack of timber. You didn't get to sort through. You just bought the pallet, and that's what arrived. So technically, they're all rejects, which probably would have ended up in a burn pile. So I'm not sure if we'd call that salvaged, but I did save it from a burn pile, I guess. But it was also from a tree that was grown to be cut down, which isn't the thing that I like the most. Oh, the grain on it was just absolutely beautiful. Squared it up, run it through the thicknesser, which is in dire need of new blades at the moment. I'm just loving that colour, the way it was coming up. The dust collection's been one of the better things, but next project on the 3D printer is to design and print an overhead dust collection, as the compact table saw from SawStop they don't actually sell one for it, so it does spit dust everywhere and is probably the worst offender in the workshop at the moment. There's 2 ways to make these frames. You can make a L, as I'm doing here, or you can just cut 2 long pieces that you've ripped and glue them together in the shape of the L. I decided to keep everything continuous in terms of this one, and decided to cut only partially into the piece, and then cut away the other square to make that L shape. You can see, raising the blade to the right height, making sure that feather board's going to be nice and snug. I am pretty excited to be starting this channel. I think it's combining both of my loves of photography / videography and the wood in the workshop. So I think I'm definitely going to be experimenting a bit more with more cinematic style shots and seeing how we end up. So remember, if you like the video, like the video. So I used my miter sled, which didn't let the saw blade come up quite high enough, which was a bit annoying. I think on my next canvas frame I will be printing up a miter bar to help push through at a 45 rather than having to tilt the blade over again. Took a long time to creep up on the cuts. to try and get them perfectly sized to the canvas, as the canvas also wasn't 100% on its dimensions, and due to the way the corners fold over and all sorts of things. It was a bit of fun, but we got there. And this is one of the sillier things I've done. I printed out these corner pieces on the printer to use as a ratchet strap clamp. And I thought, yep, this will be enough to keep everything nice and tight. And I'll just pull it together by hand. I was not strong enough by hand, so I ended up grabbing a couple of clamps and just pulling it a little bit tighter on the strap. And that way it just got it tight enough to hold a bit of pressure in there while the glue dried. Knocked up this little jig so I could cut some splines in. I'll be using some black butt that I had lying around the shop. The splines will add a little bit of a feature, as well as being quite necessary to add that extra strength on each of those corners, as the end grain to end grain glue isn't real crash hot. We'll definitely be making these splines a lot smaller next time. There was a little bit of chip out, I think, just from being too big when I did cut them and flushed them up. Rested my sanding block on the table to keep everything as much to 90 degrees as possible. And then time for my Fitties hard wax. Just rubbed on with a Scotch-Brite pad. Let it dry, gave it a denib, and then wiped on another coat with a rag and buffed it in and let it dry again, so it was nice and smooth. As it's not a piece of furniture, it can be fine with just the two coats quite thinly. And then it was time to mark out the hanging points. I went for 1/3 of the way down and installed these little eyelets so we could run the cable across. Just use some window packers to get the spacing correct. End up being a little bit more fiddly than I wanted, but once that spacing was good, could flip it over, secure the canvas with clean bits of timber, and clamped that to both so I could drill and run in some small brad nails to hold that canvas onto the frame. Great drill placement, Daniel. So ran around the whole frame, put plenty of nails in and bumped them right in. Tied the wire up, and we're ready to hang. Absolutely stoked with how this has come up. I think it's the perfect balance of just a nice frame without not overshow the actual artwork, so just something that will hopefully complement it. And I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of these. You can find Art by Grace's Instagram down below, where she does her amazing live wedding paintings.